Welcome to this live stream from First Unitarian Church of Des Moines. Our mission is to love radically, grow ethically and spiritually, and serve justly. We invite you to visit our website at www.ucdsm.org. It's a great way to explore all that our church has to offer, from adult programs, to religious education, to social justice work, and more. But the best way to know us is to visit on a Sunday. We'd love to get to know you over a cup of coffee after the service. Speaking of which, today's service will begin shortly. So now we'll take you inside.
Hear these words from the Reverend Erica Hewitt. To be a Unitarian Universalist means we'll never be done with the work of telling the truth about oppression, the work of resisting any laws, policies, or practices that deny anyone their humanity, the work of stubbornly seeking out the spark of the divine in each other, no matter what, the work of creating heaven on earth.
To be a Unitarian Universalist also means that we are not alone in the work. We are not alone because of our promises to love one another. We are not alone because we are companions on the journey.
We grow ourselves into allies, helping one another get free, because none of us is truly free until we are all free. Please join with me in the chalice lighting words in your order of service. The chalice we light today is a symbol of our faith. It binds us together as one people, a reminder that our strength is in our shared hope for the world, and that our common work is the creation of beloved community among ourselves and in the world. And now let us pass the peace. If you would prefer a little personal space, simply remain seated, and your neighbors will take the cue and leave you in peace. And then stay standing for the hymn. I almost did harmony with you.
I was like, I should probably warm up. Good morning. I was like, if I simply harmonize from the far stall, will she freak out? No, I'll be like, oh, I knew somebody else was right to be in there. But well, that one I know. Yeah.
Join me in our opening hymn, number 298, Wake Now My Senses. We're going to sing verses 1, 3, and 4.
Wake now my senses.
senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow. Giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now, compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the white sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now, my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race.
Good morning. I'm Louise Alcorn, she, her, your celebrant this morning. We welcome all people who welcome all people. We welcome all genders, ethnicities, bodies, and stories. Whatever you are carrying with you, whatever you long to set down or pick up today, you may find here the love, support, and encouragement you seek. If this is your first time here, welcome. If you'd like help connecting with folks, please be sure to grab a yellow Let's Talk mug during coffee hour to communicate your interest in getting to know more people. Our First Unitarian Church is located on land that has been home to people of woodland culture for 12,000 years, including the Iowa, Sauk, and Meskwaki.
Good morning, I'm the Reverend Steve Seek. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm honored to serve as your minister here. We are not held together by a creed, but by our commitment to one another through our bond of union. Will you please join with me in speaking together our bond of union? We covenant to associate ourselves together for the study and practice of morality and religion, as interpreted by the growing thought and noblest lives of humanity, hoping thereby to prove helpful one to another and to promote truth, righteousness, and love in the world.
We'll now sing hymn 155, just once through, and it is the melody, which is the middle line.
Good morning. All right, I'd like to invite all the youth down at this time for our story. And if this is your first time here, after our story today, we are going to dismiss the youth for classes. If it is your first time here, we ask that you come with your youth to the classroom just to check them in, and then you're welcome to come back to service. All right, today's story is Let the Children March by Monica Clark Robinson. 1963, Birmingham, Alabama. I couldn't play on the same playground as the white kids. I couldn't go to their schools. I couldn't drink from their water fountains. There were so many things I couldn't do. One warm spring night, my family went to church, and we weren't there to have regular services. We were there to hear Dr. King speak. We were there to plan. He wanted to raise an army of peaceful protesters to fight for freedom. His brown eyes flashing fire and love, Dr. King told us the time had come to march. If I march, Mama said, I'll lose my job, sure enough. I can't march, Daddy said. I've got a family to feed. The weight of the world rested on our parents' shoulders, but this burden, this time, did not have to be theirs to bear. I don't have a boss to fear, my brother said, or a job to lose. We can march this time. We'll be Dr. King's army, I said. I'll be fine, Daddy, I promised. Don't worry, Mama. Dr. King didn't like children being put in the harm's way. He was a daddy too, after all. But he said that though we were young, we were not too young to want our freedom. Let the children march. They will lead the way. On May 2nd, a sunny Thursday, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, cousins and friends, we all met at the church dressed in our best, feet ready. In a silence so loud that all could hear was my racing heart, we began to walk. Hand in hand we marched, so frightened, yet certain of what was right for freedom. The path may be long and troubled, but I'm gonna walk on. Would I be hurt? Would we be hurt? Would it all be worth it in the end? I wanted to run from the angry faces in the crowd, run from danger, run from fear. Singing the songs of freedom, 1,000 strong we came. Boys and girls, brothers and sisters, cousins and friends, on and on we marched. We marched and we marched. Hate dogged my heels all that day, its yellow canine teeth sharp, but courage walked by my side and kept me going. Disperse or you'll be jailed, the police shouted the first day. Disperse or you'll get wet, the police shouted the second day. Disperse or we'll release the dogs, the police shouted the third day. We did not disperse. We kept on marching. We wouldn't stop until things started to change. Hundreds of us went to jail on the first day, and even more on the second. My turn wasn't until the third day. After I was sprayed by water stronger than anything I've ever felt, rough hands pushed me forward and I fell to my knees in the police wagon. I was going to jail. Dr. King reassured our parents. Don't worry about your children, he said. They're going to be all right. Don't hold them back if they want to go to jail, for they are doing a job that's not only for themselves, but for all of America and for all of mankind. That night, crowded into a cell too small for even half of the kids, we sang, "We shall overcome, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, and freedom is coming." And our parents couldn't be there with us, but still we sang, wrapped in the proud and loving arms of our ancestors. I was still in jail, but we heard that the next day and the next, more kids marched. The water hoses they used to sing us could not stop our fierce tide. The path may be long and traveled, but I'm gonna walk on. Turn the other cheek, we had been taught. Show love where there is hate. The world watched as hate bruised us, but for 7 days we walked only in love. The jail swelled to bursting, and even President Kennedy took notice. Daddy said the president received letters and calls about us from all over the world. Our march would become a memory, a small part of a larger story. But we had been heard. The seeds of the revolution were soon. "2 days and nights I stayed in jail. Some stayed even longer. When I left, I was tired and sore, and my best dress was ripped. But my smile was as wide as the Mississippi River. I had made a difference. I'm so proud of you, baby girl, Mama said. Your march was made what made them see. With nothing more than our feet, voices, and courage, we had done what others could not. Change was right around the corner. We felt it like the cool breeze in an Alabama August. On May 10th, the great news ran out. Dr. King had reached an agreement with the white leaders of the city. Desegregation would begin. One month later, I was playing on the playground I'd never been allowed to play on before. 2 months later, my family ate at a diner we'd never been allowed to eat in before. Our march made the difference. We children led the way. Singing the songs of freedom, 1,000 strong we came.
Good morning. My name is Kara Andreski, and my pronouns are she, her, and I am here representing the Art Gallery Committee. And I wanted to take a moment to introduce you to this month's artists. A group of women calling themselves Women Drawn Together. They have been creating art together and building strong friendships since 2022. Exploring watercolor, oil paintings, batik, and pastels. There is even a few of our church members who are represented. This is their first group exhibit, so please come and enjoy their beautiful artwork and leave a little comment to encourage them to continue to make amazing art. Thank you.
I'm Anna Davis Evans. Pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a pastoral care associate for your congregation. Sometimes we experience big changes in our lives and we need a good listener to speak with. If you're feeling overwhelmed, lost, or alone in your grief, please reach out to the pastoral care team. You can reach us at pastoralcareteam@ucdsm.org, or you can speak to one of us on the team. You can also request assistance or submit a joy or sorrow through the Caring Community page on our website. And I would like to introduce one final way to get in touch with us that is a new offering from our pastoral care team as of this Sunday. You'll notice at the desk out here where you often see us holding cards ready for you to sign after the service a new box reading Cares and Concerns. You'll also see in front of that box these nice little cards here. This was put together by Laura Berardi and by Amanda Cruzy, so thank you so much for their efforts. If you flip over these cards, you'll notice that you can write down a care or concern that you are carrying, perhaps something that doesn't need shared at the pulpit, but something that's weighing on you, something that walks with you in your life. We want you to know that we're here to hold those things, whether or not they need to be shared with the broader community here. It is optional to share your name, so if you would like to share anonymously, simply to know that someone else in the world knows what you are going through or what you are holding, that is perfectly okay. You can also mark on the card if you would like us to reach out personally, or if you would like a visit with the minister, Reverend Steve. If you have any questions about that, please see me again at that desk afterwards. I'd be more than happy to explain further. In this community, we truly do hold it all. Joy and sorrow, laughter and tears, and everything in between. Here's what's been shared with us this week. We share the deep sorrow with you this morning that member David Chivers died on January 1st at the age of 50. He was known in the Des Moines community as a charismatic and fun-loving man who valued his family. Let us surround his wife, Teresa, and his adult children, Carson and Juliana, with our love, care, and compassion as they grieve this profound loss. A celebration of life will be held for David here at First Unitarian today at 1 p.m. Let us also send our love to Marcia Coverdale and our healing energy as well. We received word from her husband, Stephen, that this week Marcia is at Lutheran Hospital recovering from respiratory issues. She was expected to be transferred from the ICU into another room today. Please see me after the service if you'd like to sign a card of care for either of these families. As we well know, life holds the highs and the lows. As we pause to hold the Chivers family in our hearts, we also make room to celebrate the joys that continue to surround us. I'd like to share that Gene McCracken celebrated his 79th birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Gene. You're also invited to sign a card of congratulations for Gene. And as a reminder, the support available within our community is far-reaching. The Grief Circle, or Grief Support Group, will be meeting again tomorrow evening from 5:30 to 6:30 in our minister's office. As you carry memories and grief alongside hopes and dreams into this year, may the love and care of this community sustain you. We take this next moment to share aloud or in writing the names of those that you are carrying in your hearts today. We light 3 candles this morning. One for the joys and sorrows shared aloud, one for those shared in writing, and another for those held silently among us. For all of these, we now observe a moment of silence.
For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift which we are called to see, to use, to build the common good and make our own days glad. Let us now take up our morning offering, for in giving we receive. Does your family have that thing? That one thing that no one mentions openly? The topic that no one broaches directly, even though it affects everyone. It could be as simple as the fact that everybody agrees that Aunt Jane has the most terrible taste in clothes and always has. It could also be that everyone agrees that Cousin Jamie has terrible taste in men, always has, which has led them to abusive partners. But no one says anything. Everyone in the family has a relationship to these matters. Some family members may resist mentioning them and even work to keep others from bringing them up. Some family members may bring them up at the worst time in order to create disruption. These choices, these calculations, are largely a matter of family dynamics. Our former minister, Mark Stringer, would do a sermon every year in late November about Bowen family systems theory. Anybody remember that? Yeah. In brief, Bowen describes how we both connect to and differentiate ourselves as individuals based on our role in our family system. That's very broad. As Mark said, he was trying to prepare us for extended time with our families at the holidays. Because families can be joyous and loving, and they probably made us who we are, but those established family dynamics can necessitate some tough choices. This month's theme is resistance. And family systems can certainly create points of resistance, small and large. Again, they may just be small annoyances. We all know that Uncle Joe has terrible table manners. Do we say anything? Is it worth saying anything? Probably not. Just don't sit within spitting distance at Thanksgiving. But then there are the bigger things, the harder things, the things that produce pain. Do you say anything? This is when the calculus of resistance, our theme today, comes into play. Now, Reverend Steve is going to go into this much more thoroughly. But that phrase, the calculus of resistance, reminded me of Bowen and what I had learned from those annual sermons. Got to put my glasses on, sorry. For many years, my family system centered around a narcissistic personality. I don't want to get into the particulars, but instead I want to talk about the calculations I had to make. Bowen and Mark had explained that I was part of a larger system with a role or roles in that system. And these became variables in my calculations on when to be brave or forthright and when to keep my mouth shut. My calculations included the variable of whether other members of my family, my emotional support system, would even allow me to mention how I was affected by this person. There was a lot of resistance to saying anything. Or the variable that, as a single childless family member, I could easily be shut out without undue disruption. So the math became, was it worth it to my own mental health and my place in the family to squelch things down? Or sometimes, was it worth saying something to protect another vulnerable member of the family? There isn't always an easy answer, and the math changes. Central family members age, or we lose them, or new members join. It becomes more of a shifting algorithm, to extend the math metaphor. So how do we decide our point of resistance? I have struggled for decades with how to be brave. I want to be brave. Can I do the right thing? Can I be the person who brings up the hard things in a healthy way? Not always. To help me be brave, I turn to a quote from one of my favorite authors, Dorothy L. Sayers. One of her characters asks, at a pivotal point in her life, how do we decide what thing is most important? Her mentor responds, we shall know what things are of overmastering importance when they have overmastered us. So perhaps the algorithm solves itself. Thank you.
In 1957, Arkansas Governor Orville Faubus sent the National Guard into public schools to prevent black students from accessing an education equal to that of their white peers. It was immoral, unconstitutional, and it ultimately failed. So Charles Mingus wrote this tune in protest.
It's easy to see the risks of resisting. It's much harder to see the risks when you choose to go along to get along. It's easy to see all the ways resisting could go badly. It's a lot harder to see how resisting could go well. So, to follow on Louise's example here, let's say you're in town for the holidays and you go out to lunch with Uncle Dan. And Uncle Dan likes to say, "Hey, sweetie," and "Thanks so much, honey," and "By the way, sugar," to the server. You don't like this. You don't like this sexism. You should resist it, you think. I need to call him into better behavior. But I want you to notice the calculus that enters your mind. If I push back, Uncle Dan, that's sexist. Please don't call women sweetie or honey. Now what? Well, maybe he'll say, "Oh, it's a term of affection. I'm trying to center love." Remember, everyone has a moral argument for their behavior. Or he'll sigh and roll his eyes and say something about kids these days. Or he'll yell at you, and you'll have an extremely awkward lunch. Or he'll get up and walk out and not talk to you again and blow up the family dynamic. Now, these are not all equally likely outcomes, but the risks vary from "that is definitely something I can handle" to "that is far more than I am willing to risk at this lunch." Now, you know Uncle Dan, so that helps. You have a pretty good sense of whether or not he'll take your resistance kindly or aggressively. But that possibility of the nuclear option lingers in your mind far more than the possibility of Uncle Dan apologizing and reconciling with the server. So there you are in these essential 2 seconds after, "Hey, sweetie," debating whether you want a nuclear war. So you'll notice the arguments against resistance start to form in your mind. I know Uncle Dan, he's a nice guy, he's trying to be kind. That's just how men in his generation do that. I'll cut him some slack. You know what? I'll bring it up tomorrow. This is the calculus of resistance, because it's so easy to see the risks of resisting and harder to see the risk of going along to get along. It's easy to see the ways it could go badly, and it's so much harder to see the ways that resisting could bear good fruit. Now, our math is skewed here, and we come by that naturally. Our brains hold on to terrifying possibilities much closer than they do to possible good outcomes. That is how we've survived as humans. Here's a thought experiment. 2,000 people in prehistoric human civilization. 1,000 over here are afraid of tigers and snakes and bears. They startle easily when there's a sound in the bushes. If one of them's out and encounters a bear on that trail, they come back and say, we're not using that trail anymore. Over here are 1,000 fearless humans. They do not worry about tigers and snakes and bears. They go wherever they like. Who will survive over 100,000 years? Now, is this first group more miserable with its anxiety? Sure. But are they way more likely to be alive? Yes. Let's add social complexity, because after all, human survival hinges on cooperation. Over here are 1,000 people who default to agreeability, who always go along to get along. Over here are 1,000 people that do not care what you think. Who survives over 100,000 years? So, the fear doesn't kill you, but fearlessness can kill you, at least with tigers. And the problem is this: our amygdala, our fight or flight system for survival, doesn't differentiate between actual survival threats and perceived survival threats. There's the very real threat of a tiger eating you, and then there's the threat of getting a C in a high school class, and that means I won't get into the right college, and that means I won't get into the good career. Basically, my life is ruined. The tiger will actually kill you. The C will not. But your limbic system does not see a difference. Freak out. We should fight, or run away, or freeze in place. And it's really good to remember that we respond to all threats the same way. Survive. Survival and happiness are not the same thing. Survival and a life well lived with purpose are not the same thing. So back to the cafe with Uncle Dan. If Uncle Dan is armed and violent and volatile, do not speak up. Your life depends on that. That's an easy risk calculation. But there is actually a much more likely reaction. Uncle Dan rolls his eyes at you. He gives you a paragraph about the problem with your generation. But he does take your feedback in his heart. Because what you're missing in the math is that Uncle Dan respects you. He just forgets sometimes that the world continues to change. Because after all, 40 years ago, Uncle Dan had this fight with his very racist Uncle Frank. So maybe Uncle Dan feels embarrassed and ashamed, and maybe he's been socialized as a man in America to metabolize those feelings into anger, which he releases at you at that lunch. But he is listening. So it's easy to see the risk of Uncle Dan's behavior, but it's harder to see the benefits. Your survival does not depend on his growth, but your limbic system tells you you're in danger if he gets mad. So it's easy to see how it's risky for you. It's harder to clock the risks of not resisting for other people. How many times a day does this server get called sweetie? And what is the cumulative effect of her being objectified like that every day? How many times per week is Uncle Dan doing this to other women? If this is what he did in front of you, what does he do when you're not there? Where are those risks in our math? They don't affect your survival, so they don't show up in the moment, but they are real. I think part of it is that when we talk about practicing resistance, we see the moral clarity to the capital R resistance, to the Montgomery bus boycott, to Stonewall, to George Floyd protests, to ICE protests today. These are injustices that are so categorically immoral. Obviously, we need to speak up. But most people didn't. Most people did not speak up in 1956. Most people did not speak up in 1969. Most people did not speak up in 2020. And currently, many are wondering, is it too risky to speak up about ICE today? And this is not because they support the oppression, but because in the moment the perceived risk of resistance outweighs the possible gain for others from taking such a risk. I don't want this to be a heady conversation. Let us ground it in real stories. In 2015, my career as a college choir director exploded in a direction I never saw coming. Up till then, I had been, for all intents, a pleasant college choir director who had subject expertise in, as the kids are saying, all the dead white male composers. I could tell you Bach from Beethoven a mile away. No, I was still pretty young, so the students saw in me an ally for their progressive social justice causes, because if you were around in 2015, you'll remember that liberal arts colleges were exploding at that time. But suddenly they were saying, Dr. Seek, the songs you're teaching are racist, they're patriarchal, they're heteronormative, they're Christocentric, and a variety of words that I only sort of knew. Our women's choir was gender exclusive. Our sight reading tests were ableists. Tucks and dresses were gender normative. My colleague and I sat in our office together and said, what is going on? We were confused. We were resistant. This cannot be. I am a nice guy. I recycle and compost and drive a Prius. I voted for Obama twice. I cannot be these things that you are saying I am. I resist. 11 years later, I look back and how risky that was for my students to resist my pedagogy. I graded them. I wrote their graduate school recommendations. I hired many of them to sing in my very expensive church choir. Their risks were significant, but that did not stop them from focusing on the possible good outcome. We think Dr. Seek will understand that he has the capacity to change, that he will use his power to advocate for us. So, I didn't. I rolled my eyes. I patronized my students. I saw a group of them talking and I said, oh, it's clear to me that you've taken your first upper-level music history class and now you've realized that in music, just as in life, people are complicated. That's what I said. And later that night, a student emailed me, and she called me into deeper conversation. She said she'd always respected me and seen me as a compassionate, wise teacher, but she wasn't sure where to go after that statement. That yes, she was not a subject expert in choral music like I was, but that didn't mean that her concern wasn't grounded in lived reality and scholarship. This one queer black female student in a choir, the one person so triply oppressed just by waking up every morning at that college, dared to resist me, a tenure-track straight white man, saying in effect, I think there's more that we're saying that you aren't acknowledging. Well, shoot. What do you do with that, right? I'm not made of marble. I tossed and turned that entire night. By 4 a.m, I realized I either kick her out of choir or I take her up on it. So I called her that morning and I said, help me understand what I'm not understanding. And so this 20-year-old who was paying a fortune for me to teach her taught me that day. She gave me a brief class in what it's like on that campus for her. I left the conversation with, I think I have a lot I need to learn. I got into the office that morning. I looked at my bookshelves. Literally every book on my shelf was written by a white man about a white man. So I started reading gender studies. I started reading ethnic studies. And I cannot describe how painfully cognitively dissonant the next 6 months of my life were. But I realized she was right. The wool came off my eyes. I could see very clearly that our pedagogy was perpetuating the very oppressions that I was so proud to vote against every year. So I wanted to do something. I became the faculty advisor for the student group that was promoting diversity and equity in the arts on campus. I got in on the faculty anti-racist group, all of these things. But mostly I started writing a book to jot down all the things I wish I'd learned. Finally, the students thought, our risk was worth it. He gets it. We have an ally on the inside now. So the students kept pushing me to speak up whenever discrimination happened on campus, and it happened. Oh, no, I can't, I would tell them. I'm not tenured. The professors you're mad about are tenured. They will ruin my career, and I have a family to think about. Let's just wait it out. They're all about 2 to 3 years from retirement. To which they would say, we're only here for a few years. That's how college works. And you, sir, are the least risky person in this conversation. But all I could see was the cost. So, like an academic, I buried myself in my research. In the fall of 2016, I decided to test it out. I gave a presentation at a state music conference, and in 1 hour at, please forgive me, like 1,000,000 words a minute, I dumped at my colleagues all the ways that we're hurting our students, promoting misogyny, xenophobia, racism. And then the bell rang at the end of the hour of the session, and I waited for backlash. And I got a book offer. One of the guys in the back of the hall was a publisher waiting for someone to say this. So he said, put that in a book and I'll publish it. So I felt so exhilarated writing. I'm doing the good work. I'm a you here. I'm reshaping the future of education. But then as we got to the final edits of the book, what they call the galley proofs, it hit me. Oh my God, this will end my career. I mean, there's going to be a subset of people that saw a public statement of witness for these agreed values, but it's also 200 pages of the woke DEI agenda if you don't see it that way. I mean, and to be clear, I was resisting a lot of very dearly held traditions. I was telling choir directors that the Christmas concert in your public school is a violation of church and state separation. They did not like that. I was telling people that adding a Hanukkah song to that concert doesn't help. It doesn't understand Judaism, and it's very tokenizing. I said, please stop teaching spirituals from the African American enslaved experience if you're unwilling to talk about the enslavement. Please stop calling it women's choir. Please stop using tuxes and dresses. I'm giving you some of the highlights so you can notice your moment of Uncle Dan resistance, because I resisted all of it in 2015. So the book went out there and I waited for bomb threats, but they never came. I was doing a risk calculus of all the ways that my life would be ruined. What I failed to anticipate was that their risks also have positive benefits. Letters from teachers who said it changed their perspective. Letters from people thanking me for speaking up for something that had driven them crazy for years. To be sure, and you can find these on the Amazon book review, a few comments, this is woke garbage. But what really helped me in the feedback was experts who wrote back and said, I appreciate where you're going, but it would be better if you said this other way. That's what a second edition is for. So it's very easy to see how resistance can go badly. It's so much harder to see how it could go well. And let's be clear, it is not the same thing to risk for all people in all situations, because we each have a different risk calculus based on who we are. I can think of no clearer example than this. I run by myself anywhere in Des Moines at any hour of the day. I don't know a lot of women who say that. I don't know a lot of black men who say that. It is a different lived experience for me to run in this body. There are no risks for me when running except traffic. But there are many rewards. The exercise, yes, but getting to know the city. There are painfully documented risks for black men or women to run by themselves. Here's another example. I see people leaving Iowa or America because they no longer feel safe, and I want to say, stay, fight. But I recognize that I'm the only identity in America that has ever truly been acknowledged as having inalienable rights. To live in a world with so much injustice means that the risks are not equally distributed among us. Some people wake up in danger. So I come back to the students in 2015 with deep gratitude that they saw the benefits possible in risking to challenge me. After all, last week I spoke of the 3 criteria for knowing when your resistance has some moral grounding to it. My resistance to them failed all 3. Let me painfully walk through it. My resistance was not compassionate. It centered my pride and my expertise. It was not about the well-being of all people. It was about me and my need to feel good without having to change. It did not center the humanity and worth of my students. I was dismissive. By contrast, their resistance, which pushed back on my pedagogy, was done with compassion. It was done for the benefit of future students, and it held my humanity with it. So that experience not just altered the course of my life, but it also helped me reframe what justice work can look like. Yes, sometimes we need a public moment, a community vigil to hold our collective grief and anger. Sometimes we need a giant public rally to remind ourselves we don't want kings in America. But most of the time, the resistance that leads to actual change and transformation happens over a lunch date with a person you love. Sure, Uncle Dan's probably going to get a little mad. You don't get to control his reaction. But I want to say this. It's much sadder to arrive at Uncle Dan can't change. God, I hope the younger generations in my family never arrive at such a sad judgment of me. To sell me so short on the possibility that I could actually change and grow, that they would never bother to push back on a behavior that I thought was fine, but they knew to be hurtful. Don't ever sell me that short. The spirit of resistance around the lunch table is rooted in a you value. You're thinking love, and sure, part of that is that I would love an Uncle Dan enough to say something to him, but I'm talking about transformation, one of the 6 principles articulated in our new Article 2 revisions. Transformation is the simple idea that we continue to grow and change and adapt, that revelation is never sealed. And transformation is foundational to spiritual pathways, the transformation of our natural world through the changes of each season, the transformation from suffering into a bodhisattva nature as we release our attachments to impermanence and seek liberation. The transformation of Moses from an Egyptian prince who was complicit in the Hebrew oppression to Moses, the liberator of the Hebrew people. The transformation in Jesus' ministry from a punitive justice system, an eye for an eye, to a radical compassion and forgiveness of turn the other cheek. Transformation is 1/3 of our congregation's mission. Let me remind you, to grow ethically and spiritually. It reminds me of the song from Israel in the late 60s, Bashana Haba'ah, or in English translation, Soon the Day Will Arrive. Because the composer, Yehud Menor, wrote it out of profound grief for the loss of his brother in war. But it's foundationally about the possibility yet of peace, of a better way. Soon that day will arrive. When we talk about resistance, the big capital I injustices get the attention, and they should, because they're the ones creating systems of oppression. But in reality, every day in 1,000 small moments, that's when the opportunity to resist holds the power to transform ourselves and one another. Mostly to resist our own habits. I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you, and I would like to transform into a better listener. Will you please start again and give me a second chance? To resist another's persistent microaggressions. Uncle Dan, I know you mean well, but I want to tell you that most women today receive that language as pretty diminishing. It's so easy to see these moments of resistance as dangerous, and the costs of those resistance moments are not evenly distributed for us all. But if we're going to do the calculus, we should also look at the costs of not taking the risks and look at the possible benefits. I'm so glad my students did. I don't know, maybe one day we'll build the beloved community in one giant epic protest with 100 million people. But I don't think that's how it works. I think the work happens around lunch tables in moments of loving, compassionate, transformative resistance. Wait and see what a world there can be if we care. Amen.
Please join me for our closing hymn, number 146, Soon the Day Will Arrive. which must be past, and we'll hope not in sorrow when the promised rain will stop. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me.
Please join me in saying the extinguishing chalice words in your order of service or on the screen. The flame is extinguished, but not our hope for the future, our courage in the face of crisis, or the love we share in all the world.
May our love for all risk the possibility of transformation. Go in peace, go in love.
Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere, its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed all truth, its ritual works of love.
Pat, nice job, you guys. Nice job.
They should have made a special announcement. Pat Bell at the drums. His name did not get in the program.
It's in there. Yeah, it's in there.
I looked and I didn't see it.
How are you?
Hi, I'm fine.
Good. Oh, well, it was, wait, hold on. Maybe there's two different versions.
Oh, the revised version?
Yeah, I'm there. How about that? Why, I luckily got it on my name. It was a blast. Oh my gosh, I'm never gonna say no.
Yeah, he has a thing about attractions.
It was a blast. No, it was a lot of fun.
As this live stream from First Unitarian Church comes to an end, remember that previous live streams can be found on our YouTube channel. We'd love to see you in person someday. Until then, thanks for joining us.